Welcome to Washington Maritime Careers. I'm Ann Avery with the Northwest Maritime Center of Excellence. And with me today is Adam Kulass. And Adam is the Director of Career and Technical Education at Tacoma Public Schools. Today, we're going to be talking with Adam about a very exciting new project, Maritime 253. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, you bet. I think before we begin with the first question, I have to give a nod to the 253 part of Maritime 253. For those who are not in the area and maybe listening from Oklahoma or Florida, that is a nod to the area code, is it not, for Tacoma?
It is. Yeah, we use it in quite a bit of like program identity or branding. Yep.
Great. I like it, by the way. I think it's really brilliant. I think, the first question is, Adam, can you share a little bit about what Maritime 253 is, what it's all about?
Yeah, for sure. So it's a really exciting project in that it's heavily kind of centered on a philosophical approach that I think Tacoma Public Schools has taken for a long time in terms of just maximizing or amplifying partnership in terms of youth development. This one leans into workforce development also, with a really dynamic partnership that's been in conversation for a long time in terms of our partners in the Port of Tacoma. And so as we sat down a year and a half ago and started getting really serious about the development of a skills center, which is pretty unique to Washington State in terms of programming, that was very focused on workforce development for our youth in terms of maritime careers across lots of different sectors. Maritime 253 was born. So yeah, really exciting program in development, and excited to unpack some today.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think for those who don't know, I mean, the maritime industry in Washington State is absolutely huge. It spans multiple subsectors, so it's really exciting. This project is on the drawing board. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the how and why the Port of Tacoma and Tacoma School District came together to form this project?
Yeah, I think so. Just a little bit of insight around skill centers in Washington State. It's unique to Washington, and it's an opportunity for advanced preparation in our career tech ed lane that serves a region or a county or an entity that's larger than the host district. And so the very fact that the Port of Tacoma sits central to the Tacoma School District, I think was the inception of the conversation in terms of how can we maximize this incredible asset for youth, not only in Tacoma, but across the region. And that was an exciting, from the inception, like this really exciting kind of synergy of saying, wow, this could be really powerful. And so I think that's kind of how it was born. There's this just shared interest. And then as we sort of dove into the initial design, it was met with just countless industry partners with like vision and like alignment around maximizing the asset that is that port. I think as a lifelong resident of the area, it's really difficult not to just like gaze at the just magnitude of the port. And so with this crossover and build, there was just, like I said, there's certain words that make sense, and synergy is absolutely one of them in terms of just this aligned vision for what we could create together.
That's fantastic. I think the next natural question that comes to my mind is what the focus areas are going to be for Maritime 253. Can you share a little bit about what the curriculum might look like?
Yeah, so as we so it was essentially a year and a half, almost 2-year process of research and just integration of partner voice and in terms of really surfacing what our skills center would deliver. And I think through that, it was pretty timely in terms of our launch of the project, in the the Port of Tacoma had just concluded previously we're just concluding a 2-year workforce development study that engaged CEOs across multiple sectors within maritime throughout the port. And simultaneously, the Port of Seattle had a similar process. And so we were armed with this just robust unpack and kind of deep dive into not only the historical elements of maritime careers, but also this kind of future leaning in terms of what's the future of maritime. And so armed with that, we were able to really look at it from a learning experience and kind of development lens, which quickly surfaced some essentially pathways within maritime, and really kind of helped us arrive at what we're currently at is 5 kind of pathways. It's around maritime sustainability, which gets exciting because it has some of your environmental marine bio elements, but also this sort of future leaning element of sustainability in terms of like alternative fuel, and we're pretty fortunate in terms of our port and some of our partners that are really advanced in terms of piloting some of that. So sustainability was a lane. Transportation holistically is one that absolutely surfaced. We have some phenomenal partners in terms of Foss Tug and Crowley that have worked with us in different projects. We're in year 7 of a full Merchant Mariner summer intensive program. And so that was the other kind of fun part, is that it's sort of in the springboard in terms of existing programming to solidify an advanced level of some of these pathways. So maritime transportation, which is connected for sure and has sort of cohesion with a logistics pathway in terms of all of the different elements that go into that side of program build. Maritime technology is a really fascinating one in that it'll have a relevant sort of computer science pathway stack that plays in some of the crossover in terms of system use around logistics, but also this lane in terms of prevalence across every sector in terms of cybersecurity. So it'll have a robust computer science stack that gives our learners access to very maritime specific application in that realm of cyber. The other sort of side of maritime technology is we currently have a remotely operated vehicle, or an ROV program, that we've been in development for a couple of years in Tacoma, and it does this really fun crossover in terms of underwater ROVs that essentially allow us to study all sorts of things from pylon to hull inspection. And so as we met with partners in terms of the future of some of these different needs, that one surfaced immediately. And through that work, we've also uncovered this correlation between drones and drone application and licensing and credentialing, and not only in terms of like all of the different applications around like maritime operations, but also from a surveying landscape. And so that's been a fun one as we continue to kind of evolve that. And then finally, our manufacturing lane. And I think manufacturing right now absolutely kind of anchors itself in a lot of our skilled trades. And so in this manufacturing, or this maritime manufacturing fabrication lab, it'll be everything from welding to existing partnerships around actual boat building, using lots of different materials and mediums that go beyond wood and travel through like all the way into composites and aluminum and things like that. And so those are kind of the dominant lanes right now. In terms of a timeline, next year we'll be pretty robust in our granular development of all of those different programs in alignment with like state authorization in terms of some of the courses and things like that. But those are our dominant lanes. It's a lot. I get excited about it because I think it's just it's pretty exciting in terms of this correlation or this transition for youth in terms of livable wage, high demand careers.
I think you've hit on all the right pieces. Listening to you talk about that, I'm already thinking about all of the industry partners that are going to want to tap into that and want to support that. You all have done an absolutely fantastic job with that. And you mentioned something about, what you're going to do next year. that brings me to my next question about what your next steps are and what your timeline looks like moving forward. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the physical space, which in terms of even this opportunity is behind me. So we have renderings on this really exciting, and this goes back to just the commitment in terms of the Port of Tacoma and its commissioners in terms of really wanting to serve youth and develop workforce. So this campus that is being co-designed and ultimately co-constructed at the same time will house the Port of Tacoma's new operational Maritime Center, in addition to the Skills Center. And so that part of the work has been really fun, and really aligned to the timeline. So physical launch or occupancy of that building is projected for the fall of 2026, which feels like it's a ways out, but as we map backwards, and we have, it's really kind of a fun opportunity for us to amplify existing programming. So over the course of the last several years, we've developed out pretty robust advanced prep intensive summer programs. And we've quite a bit of crossover in terms of what will ultimately be delivered in a full package at the Skills Center. So from our Merchant Mariner program to our warehouse logistic program, where kids are gathering viable credentials, everything from forklift to crane certifications and credentials. Our environmental group, it's been fun to evolve those even in preparation for this immediate summer as we're getting even more intentional with highlighting a lot of our maritime applications. In the fall, we will launch into, and the fall technically is our first authorized year to be able to serve students under the Skill Center umbrella. But in the fall, we'll do some continued tandem development at some of our current innovative sites within the Tacoma School District to refine and sort of expand programming, while simultaneously pulling together these robust design teams in those mentioned lanes or pathways to really build out. In skills centers, students get to attend half the day, either the AM or the PM. And so over the course of a school year, students will have 540 hours of application in that selected or applied for pathway that they would like to participate in. And so next year will be the game of basically designing those experiences. It's available to juniors and seniors. And so many of our programs will have 2-year progression. So you're looking at over 1,000 total hours of advanced application in these lanes. And what's neat is it's from an approach standpoint, it'll include everything from educators from around Pierce County or the South Puget Sound, industry partners that echo that same region, and then ultimately students who have some of which who have experienced some of these programs, and some that are excited but relatively fresh to it, so that we're kind of getting multiple lenses in terms of the build. So next year will be a build year. We will launch full programming a year from this summer with approximately a dozen districts from around South Puget Sound, with a fall launch in interim sites. And so right now we're looking at the potential of launching our sustainability in the fall of 25, our transportation in the fall of 25, and our maritime technology in the fall of 25, with approximately 300 students a day. And then ultimately that 2026 launch with all programming serving just about 600 students a day. It's pretty extensive. I apologize for being long-winded, but it's, like I said before, the map gets pretty exciting because it'll be here before we know it.
No, and no apologies are needed. I love this. I think the opportunity for people to learn more about this and what this project is about is why we're here today. I think more people need to understand this. And clearly, as you're talking about this, your enthusiasm for this project really is quite evident. Can you share a little bit about kind of your passion and optimism around the maritime industry going forward? What does the future look like through your eyes?
Yeah, I think as someone who gets to collaboratively lead our career tech ed in Tacoma, and really kind of supported by a super innovative school board and a superintendent who really just wants to develop opportunities for our youth. It's been really exciting to really embrace this mindset of like the students that we serve, not only in Tacoma but throughout the region. They're the future of everything, right? And I get to play in this really neat sandbox of like the future of work. And I think that you can't turn on TV. I have kids of my own, right? And so as I process that through this professional role, I get extremely excited about maximizing not only physical assets of our region, but the human side, the human capacity, and this like shared commitment. We have a database with over 150 different industry partners that have said, however you need us, like we're happy to help with design. We're happy to pursue funding elements. Like it's been this just kind of really cool sort of rally cry, and it's difficult for it not to inspire me in terms of the job I get to do in terms of developing something that will absolutely align to a pretty substantial impact in terms of our port operations and in terms of maritime holistically, as such an integral part of our state, our nationally, like globally. So I mean that's the passion play. I think it's our future. Our kids are the future of everything, and this is a really fun lane to help them thrive.
I think that is absolutely fantastic. And I have to call out, your leadership, the leadership of your school district, the Port of Tacoma, that collaborative kind of leadership. Sometimes we throw that phrase out and it sort of doesn't land very well, but this, I think what you've shared with us today is the ideal example, the model of what collaborative, forward-looking leadership looks like. And I'm just so happy that you had the time to spend with us today. I think my final question to you, Adam, is because I would love to talk with you all afternoon. Where can people go to learn more about Maritime 253?
Yeah, so I mean, we have our website. It's just really simple. It's maritime253.org. And there's, as soon as you go in, there's a link, and simply click it and it'll take you to probably a 2-minute survey, and you can tell us exactly if you just want updates. You can tell us that if you're hearing this and you're like, man, I want to be a part of it. There's options for that also. That's usually the fastest way. My team and I spend a lot of time going out and just talking to folks and getting them as excited as we are. But yeah, the website landing page is typically the fastest. Because come one, come all. It's going to be hard to do without it.
Well, I hope that as the project progresses, we get to touch base with you again so we can share these updates, because this is just a phenomenal project and something that that the entire state should be proud of. Because like you said, it's not just a statewide industry, it's a national and global industry, and these kids are going to go out into that industry, and it's great that they're going to get their start right there in Tacoma with you. Adam, before we close, is there anything about the project you'd like to share that I didn't ask you about?
No, I just appreciation for having me on, and absolutely happy to be excited to update along the way. I echo what you said. It's a great opportunity for youth and industry alike. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much and what you're doing. Thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to learning more about Maritime 253 as we move forward. So Adam, thanks again.